GM guys, Shaheen and John here from the Degen Aussie Apes, and today we are bringing you Bokky PooBah, and I mean we're super excited to have Bokky on the podcast. I mean we're looking at an OG Cryptopunk holder, one of the largest ENS domain holders, contributor, a super early contributor to the Ethereum ecosystem. Bokky, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast and giving us a bit of time.
Hello.
I love it. You should have said hello world, Bokky. That would have been very fitting.
That would have been good.
That would have been a good background. But Bokky, why don't you walk us through your journey and how you got started in crypto? Because as far as OGs come, you were super early to the ecosystem when it comes to building on top of Ethereum. And, you know, you're I don't know, like I'd say you're the godfather of Ethereum. Is that a good way
No,
to...
No, nothing that significant. But yeah, I like software. So I studied actuarial studies at uni, but I enjoyed the software, and I ended up working with financial software companies and financial institutions building software. And when I heard about Ethereum, before that, someone described to me how Bitcoin was a trusted platform made out of many thousands of untrusted computers. And that was very interesting from a programming point of view, because you can then deploy code onto the platform that will run and no one can stop it, and it will run forever as long as the platform runs. And that was about 2015. And I started looking into the space, and I saw Ethereum had just gone live. And I started looking into what they were trying to do, the documentation, which was sparse. There was the Ethereum Stack Exchange where people go and ask questions and get answers. So there was not much of these resources. And it took me like a year of studying up on all these things. And how I study is I do things by trial and error. And so I started answering questions on Ethereum Stack Exchange. And then I had questions of my own. So I asked questions and I answered them as a reference. And part of it is because my feeling is that if Ethereum is going to be successful, there's going to need to be many developers. And so for me, my skills are in software. I can read source code. I can work out how to do things slowly. And so I spent about a year working on the Ethereum Stack Exchange, helping to answer questions and ask questions and moderate. And I did only 1 year in about 2016. And I'm still number 3 all-time contributor on Ethereum Stack Exchange.
And for our audience that's not familiar, what's a stack exchange?
It's where you can go to get very good technical answers. So as a software developer, if you want to find out how to do some JavaScript, you Google it, and a lot of times it will lead you to a stack exchange. That's where experts can pass their knowledge on, and the community grows as everyone grows using the technical resources. So my main focus was on the Ethereum Stack Exchange. Yeah, it's where developers would be directed to. If they go to Google and question, write a question like, how do I access event logs in Ethereum? So you find the technical questions and answers on Ethereum Stack Exchange.
That's really good to know. So it's basically like a kind of like a Yahoo Answers or a forum where people ask questions and you reply and you do that. Now, I know the answer to this, but just for the audience, is this a free? Does this cost anything to access it, or is it a thing?
No,
yeah,
it's totally voluntary, and there are so many great moderators out there, admins, who are moderating the Stack Exchange and organizing the tags to group them into logical groups, and to there's a lot of work that goes into that, and some of the Ethereum developers slowly, quietly work in the background, maintaining this system.
And why do they choose to do that and spend their time like volunteering and helping people out, as opposed to, say, for example, charging for their services? I'm curious to know what the values are there.
I think these are all the crazy people like myself, and what we see within Ethereum is a system that is going to bring positive change to humanity currently and in the future. It's a mass communication tool, and it allows people to the way it's going. There are different stages where we are talking about scaling, and in the layer twos, it's going to be a long-term system, right? Not a short-term system. So a lot of the ICOs or the alt L ones, so they will say they are scalable by using huge computers with fast networks, but it's not a decentralized system, and it's not non-decentralized systems are not very interesting for the people who do not have a stake in it. And Ethereum, I think, tries to be fair, as fair as it can. The developers themselves. So it's the ethos of the people in the Ethereum ecosystem, the layer zero, that is quite interesting.
I love that. And just another question while we're at it as well. So you mentioned like the early dates of 2015 and 2016. Were you mining Ethereum or any other cryptocurrencies? Were you buying them? What was the ecosystem like at the time?
So to learn, I started reading documentations available, and you can't really see how things fit together unless you run a mining node or a node. And when you run a node, you start seeing the blocks coming in and the communication among the peers. When you run a mining node, then you can see your GPU spinning, a lot of heat, a lot of noise. And you sort of understand, you think about how the network works and why they're trying to do each of these things, why proof of work. And yeah, so for me, I mined to learn how the system worked. I ended up with like 4 GPUs and then gave up, because maintaining the GPUs, you have to blow a lot of air in unless you're water cooling. So the fans get stuck with dirt. It's just too much time maintaining them. So my expertise is more in the software side, and I gave up mining then. But yeah, so I mined a bit, and I bought some, and it was an interesting experience buying Bitcoin through local Bitcoins, and seeing all the different checks that they try to have in place. So because you have to put trust in people to do the right thing. And yeah, the Ethereum ecosystem is nice because you try to build systems where you don't have to trust people. Yeah. And where were we?
Bokky, so I wanted to ask a question. Bokky, you were saying you saw you were there for the launch of the Ethereum ecosystem. I mean, did you ever think it was going to be as big as it is today, and also getting bigger?
I'm expecting it to be huge, but this is not financial advice. I think it will be the backbone of transactions, financial transactions and non-financial transactions. And they've worked out a very good way of scaling, and that's this layer 2, and they're using the zero knowledge mathematical algorithms to do some wonderful things. I think it has a long future, but yeah, not financial advice.
I love the disclaimer. Thanks for the heads up. And it's really great to get a perspective from someone who is pretty much there from day one. Now, Bokky, you've had like a really rich experience contributing. Now, I've heard rumors that you've contributed to the ERC20 token standard. So for those unaware, the ERC20 token standard is behind pretty much the majority of well, I'd say pretty much all tokens that you kind of see on CoinMarketCap. So USDT, USDC, Binance Coin was originally an ERC20 token that was funded through the kind of ICO mania back in 2017. So
But things like the CryptoPunks. So what I spent a lot of time doing was to write articles or write things for other developers to easily pick on. So if you look into my GitHub, you'll find like this GitHub, a repository of tokens, and it has like hundreds of existing tokens on the Ethereum mainnet. And I just use scripts to pull them out, chuck them in the repository, so people can read them easily. And people use this and build upon it. But like the CryptoPunks, the overview page, if you go to the bottom of it, there's a link ERC20, and I wrote an easy explainer on ERC20, well, and easier on how, you know, when you do transfers, how the balances change and all that. So at the bottom of the CryptoPunks page, if you click on the link, it now goes to some random site because some Bitcoiner, Bitcoin Maxi bought it and then started changing the links. I let the site go because there were security issues with the WordPress. But yeah, so I spend a lot of time educating people in different ways. In ERC20, I spend a lot of time like auditing people's contracts. So I think I did about 50, 60 audits of token contracts, ICO contracts, staking contracts, various things. Yeah, I leave a lot of GitHub examples. I'm a bit afraid as a software developer and with organizations like the SEC and in Australia, there would be the equivalent as well, that are looking at the crypto systems being built. And some of them are, you know, require people's trust, but a lot of systems are built so they minimize the trust required in external people. But yeah, the regulators can't see that distinction yet. And so I have refrained from deploying systems. But yeah, I've got a existing decentralized exchange. It still runs. It'll run forever. It's not very exciting. It was used for the Golem network, the Golem tokens, because they were non-ERC20 standard. And yeah, I've done things like writing options contracts. So if you go to one of my GitHubs, you'll find like the source code is about 90% there on how to write fully covered put and call options on ERC20s or ethers or wrap ethers or, you know, some tokens. And it's easy enough to write options on NFTs to create a smart contracts. But yeah, I'm afraid of the regulators, so I just leave the code there and hopefully people read it and do something with it.
I love that. So yeah, I guess for the audience as well. So options are kind of complex financial instruments that give you the option to purchase an asset at a particular price or an option to sell one. And we've seen a few of those options markets kind of pop up across layer twos as well. I did just want to ask you, Bokky, for those in the audience who aren't technically gifted or who don't have a software background, what would be a good starting point to kind of learning more about building in the ecosystem for those that would be interested? Because there's no, I guess, kind of degree or certificate in blockchain that's kind of, you know, universally recognized just yet. We might see that come soon. How do people learn? Because you used to run workshops back in the day.
Yeah. So I for me, I touched into, I had connections with the early Ethereum ecosystem worldwide because I was on the Ethereum Stack Exchange and I helped out with the DAO hack and calculations and that sort of things. So
can you just actually clarify, on an interesting side note, can you actually clarify what the DAO hack was? Because I'm sure there's even people listening to the podcast who wouldn't actually know what that is, because that was well before their time.
Yep. So the DAO was a set of smart contracts. It was one main smart contract. And it was deployed by a company. I forget what the name is. And the aim was to raise funds to build things in the Ethereum ecosystem. And a lot of people put lots of ethers into the DAO contract. And what you get back in return are DAO tokens. So this is like a ICO where you put in your ethers, you get tokens. And the DAO contract, subsequently, someone found a bug in it. There were several bugs, and it allowed a hacker to run away with like 30% of the ethers in the DAO smart contract. And so there was a big debate about what to do about it in the Ethereum ecosystem, and the developers and people in the Ethereum ecosystem, about 95% of them agreed to make some not invalid but unusual state transitions. So at a certain block on the Ethereum blockchain, there's a bit of code on your Ethereum clients that maintain the data of the Ethereum blockchain, which transfers all the ethers from the DAO accounts, the hacked DAO accounts, and it moved it into multi-sig, the curator's multi-sig. And what they did was they ended up splitting forking the chain. So there is now the Ether Classic, and there's the main Ethereum chain. So the DAO I think it showed the appetite for people in the Ethereum ecosystem to want to help build the tools to make it a successful ecosystem. And after that came the whole lot of ICOs, which is like smaller DAOs. Yeah.
That's interesting. So that's once again, for those listening, the DAO hack basically resulted in the fork of Ethereum Classic and the current Ethereum that we're using now. And Ethereum Classic, if I'm correct, Bokky, the original hacker still holds that amount of Ethereum that they stole from the DAO.
Yes.
Awesome.
And so if you look into Laura Shin's book, I forget which one it is. She, I think in the end, apparently, no, after publishing her book, I think or towards the end, Laura Shin named the DAO hacker, or who she thought the DAO hacker was. So, and I don't know what's happened with the DAO hacker. They've gone underground. I don't know, but yeah, the DAO hackers. It's known, I think, fairly certainly who the person is.
See, everyone's trying to figure out who Satoshi is, and yet we've got the DAO hacker, which is a lot more recent, somewhat still on the run. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Bokky. But just back to the kind of original question. So for people who want to contribute positively to the Ethereum ecosystem and not hack protocols, what advice would you give them to get started?
I don't know. A lot of the chatter happens on Twitter. But you need to, I used to run the workshops so people could gently get an introduction. And you're running meetups as well. And I think people just have to dig into it. You talk to other people in a community, find out what's interesting. And a lot of it is hard work of reading and trying to work out why some people think some system works. Like, why does Bitcoin work? Why does Ethereum work? What's all the mining or validators? What's all these things for? And to try to go through and answer those questions, and I think you get closer that way to working out why crazy people are building in this ecosystem.
So you say let curiosity drive you, like if you have questions and a passion for the space, to gain knowledge.
It's not something that you can pick up in a university course, in one semester. So like the workshops I ran for quite a few years, and it was like once or twice a week, and it was like 4 hours each time. And people just come in and go depending on whether they are interested in the topics. People all learn at different rates, and a lot of things, a lot of topics you have to go over and over and over it again, and each time you slowly get a bigger understanding of why these things are put in place.
No, really appreciate the insights. Thanks for sharing that, Bokky.
Mhm.
I want to ask you in transition to kind of your entry into NFTs. So, you're quite a large CryptoPunk holders. Just for the audience, how many CryptoPunks do you own?
Currently I think 9.
9 punks, and you own you own 3 zombie punks?
Yeah, 3 of them are zombies.
Yeah, and you own all the zombies with purple hair. Is that right?
And I own the first non-dev claim CryptoPunk. That is a hoodie. So the first CryptoPunk claimed by a non-Lava Labs person was my hoodie.
Your hoodie punk. And Bokky, I do want to just dive into the CryptoPunks a little bit, because we're all very NFT oriented here at Degen Aussie Apes. So what drew you to the CryptoPunks in those early days?
For me, I was running workshops then, and it's the Ethereum ecosystem is so interesting. On Twitter you see all the different experiments people are running, and one of the experiments was CryptoPunks. And so when people deploy the smart contracts, I have a quick read and see whether there's anything interesting I can learn from it. And one of the things that I do is I test smart contracts. And so CryptoPunks came on, and I had to read the code and try it out. So I got a few. I stopped because I thought I'll leave some for other people around the world. Should have got more. But yes, so people in my workshop, some of them claim some CryptoPunks too. And so there were the early NFTs like Mooncats, like CryptoCats, and I read the smart contracts. CryptoCats has a bug as well. They had a bug and then they upgraded. So they're a Melbourne mob, and there are 3 versions of the smart contract. Versus CryptoPunks, there are 2 versions of the smart contract. The first version had a bug where if I put my punk up for sale, and let's say for 1 Ether, and you buy it for 1 Ether, you will soon find out that I can't pull out the 1 Ether. Instead, you can pull out the 1 Ether. So you buy my CryptoPunk for 1 Ether, and the bug allows the buyer to retrieve their funds back. So what Lava Labs did shortly after, it might be about a week, they deployed version 2 of the CryptoPunk smart contract. And what they did was they copied the initial claim distribution on the first version buggy CryptoPunk smart contract. And so they deployed version 2, and they filled in the token ownership from, as a copy of the first one. And so you now have V1 and V2 CryptoPunks. And later on, someone worked out how to wrap the version 1 CryptoPunk smart contract, wrap the tokens so that the vulnerability can be bypassed. The vulnerability is in the marketplace function in the version 1 smart contract. So by using a wrapper, you assign ownership of the CryptoPunk to the wrapper, and the wrapper is a standard ERC 721. So it trades easily on the various ERC 721 marketplaces. That's CryptoPunks V1, V2. Mooncats, they have a bug as well, where if you offer if someone offers, let's say 1 Ether for your Mooncat on the OG, the classic interface, and you accept it, there is a bug there where someone can front run you and change the value to 0.01 Ether. So Cryptopunks had a bug as well, the version 2 UI on the UI side. And with the version 2 smart contracts of Cryptopunks, there's a minimum bid amount. And originally the UI did not fill that in. So, someone could say, I'm going to offer, 50 ethers on a Cryptopunk, and the owner of the Cryptopunks accepts it. There is the ability for a hacker to send in a higher bid. So whatever it was, 50 ethers, you send in 50.01 as a hacker. And so you are the top bidder. And then you can cancel your bid and replace it with 0.01 ethers. And in the UI for the version 2 CryptoPunk, there was at least one case where the minimum bid amount was not filled. So someone lost the CryptoPunk that way. So my interest was looking through all the smart contracts, and
I love that. Thanks for sharing the history around V1s, because it's just really interesting to see, because I think it's been a year since the V1 wrapper for the CryptoPunks came out. So that's, almost 5 years since the V1 contract launch. Was there an amendment? My question to you is, as someone who owns both the V1s and the V2s, and once again, this is not financial advice.
Yeah.
What are you bullish on? Because there's been controversy with the V1s and Lava Labs, which has subsequently been acquired by Yuga Labs, the company behind Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Yeah.
What do you think about the value of V1s as like a historical NFT? And do you think there'll be demand to get both the V1s and the V2s? Because realistically, you've still got Yuga Labs owning close to 1,000 V1 punks.
Yeah.
But also, you've got some controversy because it's not quite the 10K generative collection that people once thought it was. It's actually much closer to 20K. But then a lot of wallets are, lost or forgotten over the years. So the supply of the V1s is actually much less than 10,000 as well. So what are your thoughts on how V1 versus V2 will play out over the coming years?
I don't know, but the thing is that V1 and V2 historically they are significant. I think Bitcoin brought in the ability for people to trade fungible tokens on a decentralized network, and then Ethereum came along with the similar fungible tokens, and then you had all the ERC20s. So Ethereum made it easy for fungible tokens to be deployed and used. And then the Cryptopunks came along, and then that led to the development of the non-fungible tokens. And from my point of view, they are like a slightly different use case from the fungible tokens. And it allows like individual items to be pointed to. Some of it will be on chain, but a lot of it might be off chain. I like the on chain stuff. I think, and I think over the past few years, people have been learning how to be comfortable like holding these non-fungible tokens. You get the Bored Ape, people getting their ape stolen, and recently punks. Some CryptoPunks got stolen. Learning how to trade. People have been getting comfortable buying and selling NFTs. The different marketplaces have come up, some with various issues. So that's the ecosystem is sort of slowly growing, and NFTs, I think, are an important basic building block that will be used in many different ownership, pointing to ownership for some purpose. So CryptoPunk is the early version, just like what you see in a museum when you look at the all steamrollers or the steam trains. It's historically significant. And, my view of the Ethereum blockchain and, the more significant changes, is that some of these will have a very, very long lifespan. The information is easy enough to archive, and, it is like having Wikipedia on your phone, except you have all the data, Currently, the Ethereum ecosystem or the Ethereum data is like a few terabytes. And I think the ownership aspect of these things historically will be relevant for a very long time. And, from my point of view, some of the NFTs that you can get for relatively cheap, it's relatively cheap to have ownership in something that could last for eternity. If you have, yeah.
Yeah, if you can hold on to it for that long, then definitely. So once again, I keep saying thanks, but it's just mind blowing how much we're learning about kind of the history of these kind of NFTs. My question to you now, Bokky, is you received an exceptionally high offer for one of your zombie Cryptopunks. Do you mind just telling the listeners what offer you got for one of your punks and why you didn't accept it?
Oh, I've had offers on, I have had some nice offers on my punks. But yeah, I'm a software developer. No, I don't want to. I like working in the open source space. I don't want to have to go begging for money. So I'm unemployable, and so for me, the NFTs is a handy a byproduct or a handy accident that allows me to sell it to fund my freedom to do what I want to do. So I'm just letting them go slowly as I need to.
That's very interesting. And what was on one of your Cryptopunks in particular? You had a very enticing offer. What was that actual amount in ETH and dollar value at the time? I remember it being exceptionally high when you told me.
Yeah, I don't remember.
You don't remember?
Yeah,
is it in the seven-figure
I
range?
can't remember which ones. So it's all on chain. There was someone that went and offered. Yeah, if I speak more, I'll end up doxing myself even more.
Okay, there you go. we'll just keep that off. We'll keep that off air.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really interesting to just see
But
that.
the market is real. It's real enough. There are other people who do offer real ethers for CryptoPunks. And yeah, I can't. Yeah, I'm just sifting through it.
Bokky,
450 ethers for one on July 15, 2021. That's for 472. 4850. 460 ethers. There was a joke where, so 460 ethers offered.
460 Ethereum, and Ethereum would have been a few $1,000s at the time. So we're talking well over 1.5 million.
Yeah,
something NFTs, and you decided to pass on that.
Yeah. So I'm just holding on and slowly having to sell to fund my existence. Yeah,
that's crazy. Shaheen, you were saying something.
I was gonna ask. I mean, obviously, Bokky, this is a well-deserved byproduct of all the hard work and time you've put into educating yourself in regards to these markets, and a lot more people are now starting to do that as well. They're starting to go down the path of education.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice for them? I mean, are we still early? Are we still going to see potential opportunities like Cryptopunks? What's your thoughts on the fact that people saying that we're still early?
So no, we are still early. I think like the layer 2 ecosystem is going to go crazy. So if you are in the space, learning a bit more about how zero knowledge rollups and zero knowledge tech and layer 2s, I think the Ethereum ecosystem has created with the layer 2s, which are built on top of like some of the layer 1 clients in the same software, and they add a bit more modifications. I think there may be a time when people may run databases out of the box, so you go to your cloud service provider and you click, I want to run a banking system on one of the layer 2 chains, which is then anchored back to the layer 1 Ethereum. and you can build like the equivalent of a banking system on an Ethereum database. Well, parts of it anyway. It is like a database, and you write the smart contract so that all the checks and balances happens in real time. Yeah, I think there will come a time when people will be just deploying layer 2s and apps on the layer 2s to perform different database functions that they currently do and the layer 2 to, and I don't know enough about this area, but from what I'm so what I've read so far, there is the possibility of communicating atomically, so you can have a transaction that runs on two separate layer 2s, or layer 2 and layer 1, and it atomically fails or it passes. And it allows some interesting cases where you have applications that can cross different layer 2 chains. So you might have a bank 1 running on one layer 2, bank 2 running on another layer 2, but through the technology you can have financial contracts from both that are operable across various similar networks. So there's some exciting stuff. It's like the LAN, so what Ethereum is like, it's like a global communicating thing. No, it's hard to work it out. So I think the layers 2s may end up like LANs, where you can link up to a layer 1, the main layer 1, and you get messages passing through layer 2s or layer 1s. I don't know. It's all complicated. So I think that's where there's a lot of need for people in that area upcoming.
Definitely. I'm very bullish on the Ethereum ecosystem, especially the growth of layer 2s. I think it's, it just continues to hit all-time highs in terms of user adoption in the past years. So it's just insane. But once again, Bokky, I'll ask you to just simplify for our audience.
Yeah.
What is a ZK EVM, or what is zero knowledge?
Okay.
Proofs?
I'll roll back. But interesting listening to the Australian Stock Exchange. They had their blockchain experiment, but basically it was a database with API access. Not very interesting. But we have applications like Uniswap, and Uniswap allows you to exchange tokens, any ERC20 tokens, and this is like it's like a global stock exchange. What's happening. And so, like you were saying, you can have your various exchanges and farmings on the layer 2s. I think there's going to be a rich explosion in this area.
I love it. It's just I love hearing from people who really have the best intentions for the space and just really want to grow the ecosystem. So I guess the kind of, we've only barely touched on your experiences in the work, while kind of educating and onboarding people within Ethereum and crypto. What are you currently doing now, Bokky? Like what projects are you working on, and what's on the roadmap for?
Okay. So my exciting project at the moment, which is not very exciting in some sense, because I'm trying to write some GitHub code to work out how much tax I owe the tax department. I've got quite a few tax returns that I owe them. So I've developed this. You can find it in my GitHub. It's called TXS for transactions, and it presents you with a web page. So it runs in your browser. So it is private. You have your privacy. You don't have my server collecting your data. Instead, it runs in your browser, and you enter in. You get an API key from Etherscan, and you then connect with your MetaMask, and it will then let you import your account, and it will then suck out data from Etherscan, and from the blockchain. It will pull out the ERC20, ERC1155 transfer events, and so it creates a whole list of all your transactions. in your browser, running in JavaScript in your browser, all stored in your local browser storage. And yeah, so that's what I'm working on. Something that allows you to manage your portfolio of accounts.
That's so cool. I love that. And I guess, we really don't have enough time to cover everything that you've done. Bokky, why are you one of the largest ENS domain holders? What drew you to that in those early days? And let's hear some examples of some of the wonderful ENS names you have. Because if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, you own clitoris.eth. Is that correct?
Yeah, lots. I think I have to confess that when I was young, I did some graffiti at the McDonald's wall. I like graffiti. And so when I got into Ethereum, I like mining. I put my graffiti over, this data is going to last a long time. So you might as well put whatever nonsense you can on the blockchain. And ENS names are just another form where, it's something that other people might be interested in. So I get a lot of names that are nonsense. I think my best name is asshole. But yeah, I've got quite a few.
Asshole.eth?
Yeah.
Asshole.eth.
Asshole. I have got anus as well, and asshole, and lots.
And do you plan on selling that, or is that just a hold? That
I'll sell them when I need the cash. So yeah, I don't go much for like sitting on people's names, but I like to get names that are teasing, like the Gucci CEO, GOOCHI. Facebook, FAECBOOK.
You own Facebook.eth?
No, FAEC.
Oh, FACE. Okay.
FAEC.
Oh, there you go, with the double F.
What, Shitty Bank?
Shittybank.eth. Yeah, you've actually got a really good on OpenSea. You've actually sorted them all into categories, which is really awesome. So we'll have to put that in the description for our listeners, because I just spent so much time digging through your OpenSea, looking at the ENS names you had, all the different categories, and it's just truly, truly remarkable how many you've bought. And what's the highest sale on an ENS that you've gotten before?
So I've sold a few 3 digits. I've got one left. And like that's 27 ethers or something.
Wow. What number is that?
I can't remember. 071, 07 something, 073. Yeah, so currently I've got 925. And 925, that's sterling silver. So I'll hold on to it as long as I can. Yeah. ENSs. Don't know. It's so interesting because ENS is one of the most versatile NFTs, where you get a ENS name like asshole, and you can put anyone's picture on it, right? And there's utility to it, so you can use it to run your website. You can use it to run your decentralized website. You can use it to receive payments from so many different, on so many different cryptocurrency systems. It's very versatile. And yeah, that's why I'm interested in ENS, and I get to write my nonsense along the way. So it's part of my thinking state of mind goes into the ENS names I choose as well.
That's super interesting. And what's your favorite NFT that you own, Bokky? Because I know you've probably collected thousands of NFTs across multiple different wallets. Maybe even experimented and created a few collections of your own, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh no, I've only got a very unpopular zombie babies, and that's on the OpenSea shared storefront smart contract. I don't know. There's so many nice NFTs. Cryptopunks nice. I don't know.
You've got a Bored Ape as well, which I just recently found out.
Yeah. crypto dick butts. I like them. I've got one of the few robots. Yeah, I like lava chads. Chunky chads. I like the chunky chads because some of them are dressed up and look a bit more respectable. So you can use it as a PFP. And only the people who know will know.
Are you bullish on anything in the coming year, like any particular projects or collections or anything along those lines, or are you just sticking to your historical NFTs and your customized DNSs?
Oh, so for me, I have to not having income, I have to exchange one NFT for one or more NFTs, or and many to many NFTs maybe. So for me, it's just juggling between which ones I like more.
That's really interesting. Like it's fascinating to kind of see how much, like what position you're in and how you'll kind of sell your NFTs to pay for your living expenses and things like that. It's really engaging. But Bokky, we'll wrap things up here. But generally, before we like to wrap up, we just like to ask one question because it is tough times in the market. We've got a lot of cryptocurrencies down quite substantially from their all-time high.
Yep.
And it's just, the economy is, I wouldn't say in shambles, but it's not looking too good. You have a lot of markets like crashing, property prices and, some like rent and, cost of living is up. How do you kind of stay sane and grounded, like amidst all of this chaos? Like how do you keep your mental health in check? So
there's crypto money and there's crypto tech. So the crypto money, that's all your, the pump and dumps and, a lot of people trying to deceive other people for gains. And there's crypto tech, and crypto tech is so interesting once you get into it. It's like a giant box of Lego, and the pieces are unlimited. Once someone has invented a component, like I wrote a component called the Bokky PooBah's date time library, and this is a very super efficient date calculation, and people will use it in things like options contracts to calculate terms, staking contracts to work out how much income to attribute to different accounts. And where was I? What was I talking about?
Tech, kind of the crypto money and crypto tech.
Yeah, the crypto tech is so interesting. If you get into that, it is it's a slow learning experience. But I think, if you are interested in, it's like Lego, you like to build systems, you have a look at what different people are building and you see whether you can use components. So lots of dreaming about the crypto tech.
I love it. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Bokky PooBah, Ethereum OG, Cryptopunk whale. Are you one of the top holders of Cryptopunks?
No. I'm just my fame there is I'm the first non-developer claimer.
The first non-developer claimer of Cryptopunks.
that means I was fast.
You were fast. Yeah, you heard about it and you dived in. But really just such a valuable asset to the Ethereum ecosystem. I'd like to really thank you for doing what you did, because realistically, without people like you, Ethereum wouldn't be what it is today. So appreciate your time on the podcast, Bokky. We'll definitely have to keep in touch and get you back on, because there's so much to kind of learn. We'll put links for all your socials and your GitHubs as well in the kind of replies, the description below, so people can check that stuff out. But thanks for coming on, Bokky. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Awesome. We'll just end it there. Dave's had to run off, I think. You're here?
In awe of the conversation. I mean, that was really, really cool, Bokky, man. That awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. We'll have to, like I said, we've got to. So you live out, like far out of Sydney, right? Like 2-3 hours from Sydney. Yeah.
No, I'm in the inner west. I cycle around Sydney.
Oh, you're in Inner West. All right. Well, the podcast studio is out at Chipping Norton near Liverpool, so not too far.
Yep.
We'll have to get you on, man. We'll have to get you in person, because it's really good. We're building like a bit of a circle of degens, of people who bring the right values and attitude to the space.
Mhm.
And yeah, we're working on like a number of different projects. Some education, some meme coin things too. Like just a lot of. Did you dabble in meme coins at all, or you just?
No, I can't be bothered working out the taxation for any yield farming. It's just too complex.
Yeah.
So I've avoided all the yield farming.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a headache, but yeah, we're like I said, we'll see you at another event. But I was just going to briefly chat to you, Shane. Did you want to add anything just before I kind of?
No, I might run you guys. Bokky, can't wait to meet you IRL, man, and have a feed and catch up. But thank you once again.
Thank you,
man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll see you, David.
I'll see you then. See you, John.
See ya.